Battle passes are the latest in a long line of modern video game scourges that basically just ruin the progression system of a video game. Since somewhere in the early 2010s, where companies realized they can really push microtransactions onto their users and still make money. I don't know, it doesn't really make the experience better, so it has to be for money. Progressing through and unlocking items in multiplayer video games has gotten worse and worse. The mindset behind this I think is pretty obvious, but it's just, why create an interesting unlock path that gives our game long-term value and replayability when you can just charge for cosmetics? This kind of progression has taken many forms, but it all ultimately boils down to the same thing. Why make interesting career paths when you can instead just charge players for items? It's taken many forms, the loot box, the in-game store, but the focal point of this video is battle passes. So what is a battle pass, you might be asking yourself if you've been completely living under a rock for the past 4 years. A battle pass is kind of like a progression path you'd see in an old video game, but it's a heavily dumbed down version of that concept, is designed to suck as much money out of you as possible, and relies on some very scummy fear of missing out sale tactics. Here's how it works. Live service games with battle passes have these things called seasons, which usually run about 3 months. During these 3-month long seasons, a battle pass is usually released associated with this. This is an 100 tier progression path that gives you cosmetic items that you can use on your multiplayer character. How the battle pass system works is there's 2 types of battle pass. There's the free track and the paid track. The free track is a limited version of the pass that gives you some of the items but not all of them, and the paid track is a premium version that usually costs you around £8 per battle pass that gives you all of the items on that pass. The biggest problem with this type of progression system above all else is that once the season in association with a battle pass ends, regardless of if you paid for it, the battle pass is completely taken away. It just vaporizes in front of you. If you don't finish unlocking all the content that you paid money for in time, companies in question will revoke it from you for literally no reason. Oh, wait a minute, I'm just remembering. In pretty much every free-to-play live service game that has a battle pass, you have the option to pay more money to skip tiers of the pass. I wonder if this is connected to the fact that passes disappear at all. I wonder, could this be a really anti-consumer progression system designed to suck as much money out of players as possible, using fear of missing out tactics to manipulate players into paying for tier skips? Nah, it couldn't be. That would be ridiculous. A very common argument I see in response to this from people who do defend battle passes is that, well, you had 3 months, you can complete it in that time, or you had however amount of time it is, and like, okay. If somebody didn't complete their paid battle pass in time, it could be for a whole number of reasons, such as they were playing different games at the time, they were busy with life commitments they had to work towards, such as studying for a test, or a work trip, or any number of things, or better yet, maybe they just didn't feel like getting on or grinding the game. You shouldn't feel pressured to get on and grind a game you don't feel like playing at the minute just because, oh, well, if I don't get on soon, they might vaporize my paid pass. It's none of your business how fast or slowly I want to grind a battle pass. Just let me keep it around for when I want to. One game that's actually been making a ton of progress in this area, despite everyone not liking it, is Halo Infinite. In Halo Infinite, once the season ends, its respective battle pass does not go away at all. If you never got around to getting a battle pass, you can always go back and buy it. If you have bought the battle pass and say only got to tier 50 because you were busy or whatever, the other 50 tiers won't just magically be vaporized before your very eyes. It sounds great, right? Except it's not. Sure, when it comes to the problems of having consumers having fear of missing out when it comes to the paid battle passes, Halo Infinite has absolutely nailed this problem on the head. The problem is, almost everything else regarding item gain or progression in this game is genuinely awful, and is a pretty good example of free-to-play games' business models when it comes to progression ruining otherwise good games. Since Halo 3, Halo has always been known for its really fun multiplayer item unlocks and progression systems. Halo Infinite has pretty much completely butchered the game's progression system beyond having the occasional 100 tier battle pass. Is there any way to get XP in this game beyond completing challenges? No. Is there an actual progression system that you can work towards outside of the battle pass? No. That's actually the biggest problem with Halo Infinite's battle pass system. Once you complete the 100 track linear battle pass, there is absolutely nothing to work towards in this game outside of the capstone challenges. Which sucks, because say in a game like Titanfall 2, you can constantly be leveling up and getting XP no matter what. There's no 100 tier battle pass or anything like that. There's always another level to be working towards in that game. And once you do hit the maximum level, level 50, you can do this thing called regeneration, which is probably better known to players of the Call of Duty series as prestiging. This allows you to restart back from level 1, except this time with more fancy unlocks and stuff. This makes it feel like the player has something meaningful to work towards for way longer than a battle pass system would. Especially a battle pass system with no progression system behind it. I know Halo Infinite is eventually going to be getting a real progression system through patches in like 5 million years or so, but I don't see why it's taking so long to do the MCC progression system again, or better yet, I don't see why it wasn't there at launch. Hey, do you remember when I said Halo Infinite doesn't have fear of missing out earlier? Even the golden child of the battle passes still suffers from this problem somewhat. Occasionally they do these free 30 tier pass events, or maybe they're 10 tiers depending on what they're feeling like. These have a variation of items, and you do challenges, and they're basically just a smaller version of a bigger battle pass, but they're free for everyone. The problem with these isn't as big as games like Fortnite, straight up removing your paid battle passes, but I do still think it really sucks how after these events end, the passes in question are removed. Because as far as we know, unless the event returns, which after its season probably won't, there is a very real possibility that the cosmetic items seen in these free battle passes will never be seen in game again. And if you weren't on the game while the event was running, you will never be able to use these cosmetics, which is in my opinion pretty sad. This part of this rant video thing, whatever you want to call it, has been very much inspired by a Twitter user called CRISPRstorm. This tweet kind of resonated with me, so I wanted to mention it here. The tweet reads, "Infinite will never recover from its store and fear of missing out events. We'll never see every item be available at all times like every past Halo, and that's depressing." And yeah, I agree. I think that's sad as well. Throughout this whole discussion, one thought has kind of just kept permeating through my mind, a thought I know shouldn't be, but it is anyway. I kind of miss loot boxes?
Noble prophet of truth, this has gone on long enough. Make an example of this bungler.
Now, let me clarify that. When I say I miss loot box systems in games from like 2013, 2015, 2016, that kind of area of time, that's not me saying that they were really good and ideal system. I literally avoided buying Overwatch 1 outright because of the loot box system. Trust me, if there's anyone who's wanted loot boxes gone more than anyone over the years, it's been me. The initial appeal of the Battle Pass system in video games, at least for me anyway when it first came out, and I don't know if this applies to any of you, but the whole appeal for me originally is that out of loot boxes or the Battle Pass, it wasn't great, but it was definitely the lesser of the two evils. With the main appeal obviously being that games no longer feel like, say, online Halo-themed casinos with paid loot boxes. But the thing is, at least with loot boxes you had something to work toward. Like, from playing games and leveling up and stuff, you could unlock loot boxes and realistically unlock everything in a game without spending a dime on it. And with the sheer amount of stuff you can get from these loot boxes and a competent leveling up system, you could at least have something to work towards pretty consistently in these games. Nowadays it's, okay, complete your linear 100 tier battle pass before it goes away, and then piss off to the store. We've got a lovely $20 character skin in here, buy it, you cheap bugger. And outside of challenges, in most games that's it nowadays. That's all there is to work towards, and it's so boring. And again, I want to clarify, this is not me defending paid loot boxes. I think loot boxes you can pay for are one of the worst and most scummy business practices to ever hit the gaming industry, especially in games rated suitable for kids, but I would take free loot boxes over a battle pass system, I think. Just the loot boxes you unlock by playing the game though, the paid ones can stay dead. As for what role microtransactions will fill in this hypothetical game progression system, because you know corporations gotta line their pockets somehow, I guess, have a regular common store page a la Fortnite or Halo Infinite or pretty much every other free-to-play game, but have every item in the game be unlockable through this hypothetical free loot box system. I think it kind of sucks how progression systems in modern gaming have gotten so bad that I'm suggesting systems that I'd begrudgingly accept and not ones that I'd flat out like, but there you go. If there's anything to take away from this video though, is that the battle pass system is not gonna last forever. We're not stuck with this awful system forever. There can be changes that are made to it, but more likely, eventually it's just gonna die out. I saw the rise and fall of loot boxes in multiplayer video games in real time. So let me tell you from experience, don't worry, this is not gonna be how video games are forever. Because soon they'll come up with an even worse system.